What would you do if you found a magic coin that could grant any wish? Would you wish for toys, a big house, mountains of sweets? Keep that question in your heart, dear children, as we meet a boy who faced this choice when he needed it most. Tavian woke before dawn, as he always did, to the sound of his father's labored breathing. The 12-year-old boy pulled his grandfather's threadbare cloak tighter against the mountain cold that seeped through the holes in their roof. His stomach growled. They'd had only thin barley soup yesterday, and the day before that, nothing at all. Tavian, his father's voice was barely a whisper from the corner where he lay on a straw mattress. "I'm here, Papa." Tavian crossed their one-room cottage, stepping carefully over the places where the floorboards had rotted through. Warren's face was pale, his eyes sunken but still gentle. "You shouldn't have to carry this burden alone," Warren said, his weathered hand trembling as he reached for his son. "The boy your age should be playing, not." "Hush, Papa. Rest." Tavian squeezed his father's hand, feeling the bones beneath papery skin. Once Oren had been the strongest shepherd in the village. That was before the sickness came 6 months ago, before everything fell apart. The food basket hanging on the wall was empty. Their last copper coin had bought medicine that hadn't worked. Tavian's clothing was so patched that more mended fabric than original cloth remained. But he had his sheep, and he had his father, and somehow they would survive another day. Outside, dawn painted the mountain peaks gold. Tavian gripped his simple wooden staff and climbed toward the lower meadow where his small flock grazed. 7 sheep, all he had left after selling the others to pay for doctors. He knew each one by name, by the pattern of their wool, by their different bleats. "Good morning, Dusty. Hello, Bramble." He moved among them, checking for injuries, scratching behind ears, counting. Clover, Thistle, Storm, Meadow, his calloused hands. Rough from work that had begun when he was barely old enough to walk. Moved with practiced gentleness. His heart stopped. 6 sheep. He counted again, panic rising in his throat. Snowbell, the white lamb, smallest of the flock, barely 6 months old, gone. Tavian spun in a circle, scanning the meadow. Snowbell never wandered. She always stayed close, following Tavian like a shadow. Fear gripped him. Wolves hunted these mountains. Eagles took lambs, and his family couldn't afford to lose even one animal. Tavian found the trail almost immediately, small hoofprints leading upward toward the high meadows. Toward the ancient stone circle that the village elders warned children away from. "Old magic sleeps there," they said, "best not to wake it," but Snowbell was all that mattered now. The climb was steep. Wind howled through the peaks, whipping Tavian's cloak around his thin frame. His breath came in gasps as he climbed higher than he'd ever gone before. The sun rose fully, but up here, shadows seemed to linger in strange places. Then he saw them, 9 massive stones arranged in a perfect circle, each twice his height, covered in moss and ancient symbols, worn almost smooth by centuries of wind and rain. They stood on a flat plateau, and the air around them felt different, thicker, charged with something Tavian couldn't name. Snowbell, his voice sounded small against the wind. A familiar blate answered. Relief flooded through him as the white lamb trotted from behind one of the stones, completely unharmed, almost happy. "You silly thing," Tavian breathed, dropping to his knees and burying his face in her soft wool. "You scared me half to death," as he knelt there. Something caught his eye, a glint of gold between the ancient stones, half buried in dark earths. Curious, Tavian reached out. The moment his fingers touched it, warmth spread through his palm. He pulled it free, a golden coin unlike any he'd seen. It was perfectly round, covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and move in the light. The warmth traveled up his arm, not burning but comforting, like sunlight after a long winter. Then he heard the voice. It came from everywhere and nowhere, from the coin itself and the stones and the wind. Warm yet ancient, carrying the weight of centuries, neither clearly man nor woman but something timeless and vast. You have found the wishing coin, 3 wishes it grants, no more, no less. Choose wisely, for each wish is a test of your heart. Tavian's hand trembled. The coin seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat against his calloused palm. 3 wishes, his mind raced like a wild horse. Papa. He could wish his father healthy again, strong enough to work, to laugh, to be himself again. Food, enough to fill their empty baskets, to stop the constant gnawing hunger that made his hands shake. Their home, he could wish it whole, roof mended, floor solid, warm against the mountain cold. 3 wishes could save them. 3 wishes could end their suffering. But the guardian's words echoed in his mind. A test of your heart. What did that mean? Why would wishes be a test? What happened to those who failed? Tavian clutched the golden coin, feeling its ancient warmth, and looked down at Snowbell, who gazed up at him with trusting dark eyes. In his other hand, his wooden staff, worn smooth by his father's hands before his own. On his shoulders, his grandfather's cloak, patched and repatched with love. He was 12 years old, desperately poor, with a dying father and an empty food basket. And in his hand he held 3 chances to change everything. The question was, what would his heart choose? The mountain path felt different beneath Tavian's feet as he descended. Lighter somehow, despite the weight of what he carried. The golden coin rested in his pocket, warm against his leg like a secret sun, pulsing with each heartbeat. Snowbell trotted beside him, occasionally bleating softly, unaware that everything had changed. Tavian's mind spun with possibilities, 3 wishes. 3 chances to end their suffering. First wish, father's health. He could see it so clearly, Papa's eyes bright again, his laugh returning, color flooding back into those hollow cheeks. No more coughing that rattled through their thin walls at night. No more blood-stained cloths hidden from Tavian's sight. Papa could work again, tend the sheep, stand tall and strong. Second wish, gold. Enough to buy food that would last through winter and beyond. Real food, not just thin vegetable broth, but thick stews with meat. Fresh bread with butter, cheese, apples that crunched between teeth. Medicine from the town healer, the kind that came in blue bottles and actually worked. Seeds for a proper garden, 3rd wish, their home. He imagined the roof hole, no buckets catching rain. Floors solid beneath their feet, a real door that closed properly. Windows with glass instead of oiled cloth, a fireplace that drew smoke up instead of filling the room with it. Warm blankets, a real bed for Papa instead of that straw pallet. 3 wishes could transform everything, could give them the life they deserved. Could Tavian stopped so suddenly that Snowbell bumped into his legs. By the roadside, huddled against a boulder, sat a woman and 3 children. The woman was perhaps 30 but looked 50, her cheekbones jutted sharp beneath skin stretched thin. A tattered shawl, once blue, now faded gray, hung from shoulders that curved inward like a bird with broken wings. Her eyes found Tavian's, hollow, desperate, pleading without words. The children clung to her skirts. The oldest, a girl maybe 8, had tangled dark hair and arms like twigs. She held a boy of perhaps 5, whose crying had gone quiet from exhaustion. The smallest, barely 3, whimpered against her mother's chest, too weak even for tears. "Please," the woman's voice cracked like dry wood. "Please, young shepherd." "Do you have any food, anything?" Tavian's throat closed. The coin in his pocket suddenly felt heavy as a stone. "My husband," the woman swallowed hard. "The fever took him 3 weeks ago. We had nothing saved. I've begged in the village, but everyone says times are hard for all. My children haven't eaten in 2 days. I don't," her voice broke. "I don't know what to do." The little boy's stomach growled audibly. His eyes were too large and his thin face ringed with shadows. The girl holding him swayed slightly, her own hunger making her dizzy. Tavian's hand moved to the coin. It pulsed warm against his palm. No, he couldn't. Father was waiting. Father was dying. These weren't his people, his family, his responsibility. But the smallest child whimpered again, and Tavian saw himself. Saw his own thin arms, his own hunger, his own fear. These children were younger than him, more helpless. Their mother had the same desperate look Mama had worn before she died. That look that said she'd give anything, do anything, if only her children could eat. The strong protect the weak, Papa's words. Papa, who shared his own small portions with Tavian, even when it meant going hungry himself. Papa, who taught him that a man's worth wasn't measured in gold, but in how he treated those who couldn't repay him. Tavian's hand trembled as he pulled out the coin. It caught the afternoon light, blazing like a captured star. The woman's eyes widened, the children stared. He had 3 wishes. 3 chances to save his father, 3 chances to end their suffering. But father would never forgive him for walking past starving children. Papa, who'd once carried an injured shepherd 5 miles in a storm. Papa, who'd given their last loaf to a beggar. Papa would rather die than know his son had become someone who could ignore a mother's desperate plea. And Tavian realized with sudden, aching clarity he couldn't live with himself either. Couldn't look Papa in the eye, couldn't become the kind of person who saved himself while children starved. Even if it cost him everything. "I wish," Tavian's voice shook but held firm. "For food and provisions for this family. Enough to sustain them through the coming season." The coin blazed. Light exploded from his palm, brilliant gold, that made them all shield their eyes. The air hummed with power, ancient and vast, the same presence he'd felt at the stone circle. Magic crackled like lightning, smelling of harvest fields and honey and fresh rain. When the light faded, baskets surrounded the woman. Heavy woven baskets overflowing with bread, dark rye and golden wheat, still warm. Sacks of grain and dried beans, vegetables in abundance, carrots, turnips, onions, potatoes. Dried meat wrapped in cloths. Cheese wheels. A jar of honey, apples red and perfect, flour, salt, oil. Everything a family needed, more than enough, generous beyond measure. The woman stared, then she wept, great, gasping sobs of relief and disbelief. She pulled her children close, and they cried too, reaching for the bread with shaking hands. "Thank you," she sobbed. "Thank you, you've saved us." "You've saved my babies." Tavian looked at the coin in his hand. It had dimmed just slightly, still golden, still warm, but something had changed. As if a small light within had gone out, the guardian's voice whispered through the air, gentle as wind through grass. "Two wishes remain. The first test is passed." Tavian tucked the coin back in his pocket and turned toward home. Behind him, he heard the children laughing through tears, the sound of a family saved. Ahead, the path led to his father, still sick, still waiting, unaware that his son had just given away a miracle. His heart felt lighter and heavier all at once. 2 wishes left. Was it enough? Had he just saved one family while dooming his own? Snowbell pressed against his leg as they walked. And Tavian wondered if compassion and foolishness were sometimes the same thing. The path home seemed longer now, each step heavier than the last. Tavian shifted Snowbell in his arms, feeling the coin's diminished warmth through his pocket. 2 wishes left, 2 chances to save father. Please let that be enough. The sun hung low, painting the mountain path in amber and shadow. Ahead, a cart tilted awkwardly, one wheel shattered against a boulder. Crates and bundles lay scattered across the narrow road. A man knelt beside the wreckage, hands moving frantically over splintered wood. "No, no, no," the man muttered. Merchant Darius. Tavian realized he'd seen him in the village market. Dust covered Darius's fine coat, his graying beard trembled as he looked up. "Boy. Thank the stars, help me, please." Tavian approached slowly. "What happened?" The wheel struck that cursed rock. "Everything I own is in this cart. My goods, my savings, everything." Darius's eyes were wild. "Night's coming, the bandits." He grabbed Tavian's arm. "They hunt these roads after dark. They'll take it all. They'll kill me. I've heard the stories, travelers found with their throats cut, stripped bare." Tavian's mouth went dry. The mountain bandits were real. Last winter, they'd found a peddler's body frozen in the snow, empty-handed. "We could carry your things," Tavian offered weakly. "Get you to the village. There's no time. Look at the sun." "We'd never make 3 trips before darkness falls." Darius's voice cracked. "I'm a dead man, 20 years of work gone. My family will starve." Tavian's hand moved to his pocket. The coin pulsed against his palm, warm but weaker than before. He thought of father's hollow cough, the rattle in his chest that had grown worse each day. "This is my second to last chance, but bandits would come. Darius would die here, alone in the dark, for the crime of a broken wheel." Father's voice echoed in his memory, from a night years ago when they'd found an injured traveler. "Never abandon someone in need, Tavian. That's when we show who we truly are." Tavian pulled out the coin. It glowed softly, no longer brilliant. "I wish for this cart to be repaired and strong." Light flashed, not the explosion of before, but a focused beam that shot to the broken wheel. Wood snapped and reformed, splintered spokes wove themselves whole. The wheel lifted, settled, perfect and gleaming. The entire cart seemed to strengthen, every joint reinforced, every board renewed. Darius stared, then collapsed to his knees, sobbing. "You saved my life, my family." "Everything." He fumbled at his belt, pulling coins from a purse. "Take these." Take half of everything I have. No, Tavian backed away. Just be safe. Get home. He turned and ran before Darius could protest, Snowbell bouncing in his arms. Behind him, he heard the merchant's thanks dissolving into the twilight. The coin in his pocket felt cooler now, noticeably dimmer. Tavian pulled it out as he walked, watching the faint glow pulse weakly. One wish. One chance for father. His stomach twisted. Please let it be enough, please. The village appeared ahead, cottages scattered across the hillside. Almost home. Almost to father. Tavian's pace quickened, then stopped. A small figure sat beside the road. A girl, maybe 10 years old, in a simple patched dress. She held a walking stick across her lap. Her eyes were closed, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Hello," Tavian called softly. The girl's head lifted. Her eyes remained shut. "Who's there? My name is Tavian. Are you hurt? I'm lost." Her voice broke. "I was trying to get home, but I can't. I can't see. I've been sitting here for hours. Mother must be so worried." Tavian knelt beside her. "You're blind 6 months now. There was a fever. When it broke, the world was gone." Fresh tears fell. "I can't see Mother's face anymore. Can't see the sunset. The other children don't want to play with someone who stumbles and falls. I'm so tired of the darkness." The coin burned in Tavian's hand, not with heat, but with the weight of what it represented. "My last wish, father's only hope." Tavian looked at this child, tears on her cheeks, lost and alone. 10 years old. An entire life ahead of her, all of it in darkness. What would father want me to do? He knew the answer, had always known it. Father would give anything to help a suffering child. Had taught Tavian that compassion wasn't just for when it was easy, it was for when it cost everything. "What's your name?" Tavian whispered. "Zara." Tavian's hands shook as he held up the coin. His heart was breaking. Father's face filled his mind, pale, sweating, struggling to breathe. This was it. After this, there would be nothing left. No magic, no miracles. Just a sick father and a son who'd given away their salvation. But he couldn't walk past her, couldn't leave her in darkness. "I wish for this girl to see again." The coin exploded with light, brilliant. Blazing gold that made the twilight bright as noon. Power roared through the air, ancient and vast, the guardian's presence overwhelming. Magic poured into Zara like liquid sunshine. The girl gasped. Her eyes flew open, wide, brown, beautiful. She looked at her hands, turning them in wonder. At the sky, purple and orange with sunset. At the trees, the grass, the distant mountains. "I can see," she whispered. Then louder, "I can see the colors, oh, the colors. Mother's face, I can see Mother's face again." She laughed, spinning in circles, tears of joy replacing tears of sorrow. "The sky is so beautiful. Everything is so beautiful." Tavian watched her joy through his own tears. The coin in his hand went dark, completely, utterly dark, cold as stone, dead. All 3 wishes, gone. Zara hugged him, still laughing, then ran toward the village, shouting for her mother. Tavian stood alone on the empty road. He looked at the lifeless coin, then slipped it into his pocket. His feet felt like lead as he turned toward home. Father was still sick, still dying. And now Tavian had nothing, no magic, no power, no way to help. What have I done? The question followed him through the gathering darkness, heavy as chains. His crumbling cottage appeared ahead, lamplight weak in the window. Father was in there, waiting, hoping. And Tavian had spent their only miracle on strangers. Tavian pushed open the cottage door, his hand trembling. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Inside, father would be the same, pale, sweating, dying. And Tavian would have to explain that he'd spent their only hope on strangers. The door swung wide. Tavian froze. Father sat upright in bed, not lying down. Color bloomed in his cheeks, healthy pink, not feverish red. His eyes were clear and bright, not clouded with pain. He was smiling. Tavian Oren's voice rang strong and full, no wheezing, no gasping. "Come here, son, father," Tavian's voice cracked. How he stumbled forward, looking around wildly. The roof above them was solid, no holes, no patches, sturdy beams gleaming in lamplight. The walls stood straight and strong, cracks vanished, stones fitted perfectly. The pantry door hung open, shelves overflowing with bread, cheese, dried meat, vegetables, grain sacks bulging with plenty. "I don't understand," Tavian whispered. "The house, you everything's." Heat blazed in his pocket. Tavian gasped and pulled out the coin. It burned brilliant gold, brighter than ever before, pulsing with power that made the air hum. Light poured from it like liquid sunshine, flooding the cottage with radiance. The coin lifted from his palm, floating upward. Tavian stepped back, heart hammering. The golden disk spun faster, faster, then exploded into pure light. When the brilliance faded, a figure stood before him, the guardian of compassion. Tall and luminous, neither man nor woman, wrapped in robes of silver and gold that flowed like water and light combined. Their face was ageless, young and ancient at once, beautiful beyond words. Eyes like captured starlight gazed down at Tavian with warmth that made tears spring to his eyes. A golden aura surrounded them, gentle as candlelight, powerful as the sun. Tavian, the guardian's voice was music and wind, warmth and wisdom, carrying the weight of centuries. "Do you understand what has happened?" "No," Tavian breathed. "I used all 3 wishes. The coin died, but father's healed." The house, the coin was never about granting wishes. The guardian's smile held infinite kindness. It was about testing hearts. "For 1,000 years, I have placed these coins where they might be found, waiting to discover those whose compassion outweighs their need." Tavian's legs shook. He sank to his knees. "Most who find the coin use their wishes selfishly," the guardian continued. "They wish for gold, for power, for themselves. They gain briefly, but lose eternally. Their hearts harden, their fortunes crumble. They become prisoners of their own greed." The guardian gestured, and light swirled in the air, showing images. There was a man called Vexen, a wealthy landowner who heard legends of the coin. When he found one, he wished for mountains of gold, absolute power over others, and wealth beyond measure. For 1 month he had everything, then it all vanished, his fortune, his lands, his health. Now he lives in the poverty he once inflicted on others, begging for scraps in villages that remember his cruelty. The images faded. "But you, Tavian," the guardian's eyes blazed with joy. "You were different. Your father lay dying, your home was falling apart, you had every reason to wish for yourself. Yet when you saw widow Elira's starving children, you chose them. When merchant Darius faced bandits, you chose him. When blind Zara wept in darkness, you chose her." Tears streamed down Tavian's face. 3 wishes, 3 tests, 3 strangers. the guardian's voice rang like bells. And you passed them all. You gave away everything, your last hope, your father's salvation, your family's future, because you could not bear to see others suffer. That is the ultimate test of compassion. The guardian raised their hands. Golden light swirled around Tavian, warm as summer sun. Therefore receive what you have earned. Your father is healed, completely, permanently. Your home is restored, stronger than before. Your fields will prosper. Your family will never know hunger again. And your heart, Tavian, will remain pure. Because true wealth is not what we keep for ourselves, but what we give away with love. I don't deserve this, Tavian sobbed. I was so scared, I thought I'd failed him. You honored him. Oren's voice, strong and clear, came from behind. Tavian turned to see his father standing, tears streaming down his healthy face. My son, you showed more courage than I ever taught you. You chose right over easy. Compassion over fear. I have never been more proud. Father pulled Tavian into his arms, holding him tight. Tavian buried his face in his father's shoulder and wept, relief, joy, gratitude pouring out in great, shaking sobs. The guardian's light grew brighter. Your example will transform this village, Tavian. Already, word of your choices spreads. Widow Ilara tells everyone how you fed her children. Merchant Darius speaks of your courage. Zara sings of the boy who gave her sight. Others will be inspired. Kindness will multiply. Compassion will become this village's greatest treasure. The guardian began to fade, dissolving into golden motes of light that drifted like fireflies. Remember, Tavian, and tell all who will listen, kindness returns to us multiplied. Compassion is the greatest treasure of all. Those who give with open hearts receive blessings beyond measure. The light swirled upward, through the solid roof, into the night sky, leaving warmth and peace in its wake. Tavian stood in his father's embrace, in their restored home, surrounded by abundance earned through sacrifice. Outside, neighbors gathered, having seen the golden light. They came with questions, with wonder, with open hearts ready to learn. The story spread like wildfire, acts of kindness multiplied, the village transformed. And it all began with one boy who chose compassion over fear. So, dear children, what would you do with 3 wishes? Would you keep them for yourself, or would you give them away? Remember Tavian's choice. Practice kindness in your own life, not because magic will reward you, but because compassion makes the world brighter for everyone. If this story touched your heart, click like, share it with friends who need this message. Subscribe for more stories that inspire goodness, and never forget. True wealth isn't gold or power, it's the love and kindness we give away.